Want to learn some new tips and tricks for getting a really great wood grain finish? Well, stay tuned to this week's episode of Make It Monday. Hi, I'm Jessica with JC Creative, and if this is your first time here, I would like to welcome you. If you love DIY projects, anything from tumblers to teas, home decor, we have a little bit of everything for everyone. And I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel below and be sure to ring the little bell to be notified of new tutorials I drop each and every Monday. Okay guys, hi, thanks for joining us today. So this week's episode is going to be a little bit different than what I normally do. I normally do like a full cup with a decal and all kinds of stuff on there, a kit for you to order, but this week it's going to be a little bit different. So right now is craft show season for me. My first one is coming up this weekend, so I have a ton going on. My time is really tight, but I still want to be able to give you guys some valuable content on the channel. So I have an order for 122 wood grain tumblers, and they are all different sizes, different varieties. I'm doing 20 ounces. I'm doing beer mugs. I'm doing these custom cups. So I have a lot of wood grains to do. And I always see out in the groups that I'm in, people struggling with doing wood grains, getting, good markings on their wood grain, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to share with you guys how I do some of my wood grains. And so today that is what we are going to do. So I am going to swap up our camera here, get you into a better view where you can actually see me doing some of the work, and we're going to paint some of this wood grain finish together. I'm going to show you the inks that I'm going to use, the brushes that I use, and hopefully by the end of this episode you'll have a better grasp on how to get a really good natural looking wood grain finish on your cups. Okay guys, so for supplies, you'll need your tumbler, of course, and I always start with a spray painted white tumbler. That is what I like to wood grain to if I'm trying to do lighter colors. If by chance I was working on a really dark wood grain, I might paint this a different color, but for most part, always white is what I start with. So most folks use alcohol ink to do their wood grains, and I have totally used alcohol ink. It works great. I have a tutorial out there on how to do a baseball wood grain, which I do use alcohol inks for that. It's just the alcohol helps the ink move in a certain way that lets me get that baseball bat look. But for these and most others, I really do like to use India inks. And India inks are different in the fact that these do not mix with water. With alcohol. If you mix these with alcohol, they kind of clump up and get yucky. So these you can dilute with a little bit of water if you need to, but alcohol is a no-no with using India inks. What I love about these are pretty large bottles. I forget how many ounces they are. These are full 1 ounce bottles. So here is let me grab one real quick. When I do use alcohol inks, I do use like the Ranger ink. So here is a bottle of, Ranger alcohol ink. It's a half an ounce. You get these are a full ounce. You can get these anywhere from like $5 to $8 for these big bottles. I feel like the Ranger is way more expensive when I buy alcohol inks. I try to get them on sale at, Hobby Lobby or whatever. So I do feel like you get a little bit more for your money with the alcohol inks. So these are Dr. P.H. Martin's India inks. Below this video is a link to all of the supplies that I use. So there are links to my turners there, links to my inks, links to my brushes, everything that I use in all my tutorials. You can click there, you can go, and then you can most of the stuff is on Amazon. There are a few other places online I buy some stuff, but for the most part, Amazon is where I get a lot of my stuff because of that 2-day ship, and I love it. So below this video, if you want to shop, and look, these come in all different kinds of colors. So they do have sets. You can buy sets of them. I buy individual colors specifically for some jobs. This yellow, and it's just called brown. Yellow and brown, pretty golden yellow and brown are the two that I use to get this kind of light colored wood grain effect. Even this is what I would consider a medium, a medium green. If you want a darker, they do have this Van Dyke brown, which is a much darker brown. You can mix these two together to get a darker finish. But these two, the yellow and the brown, are what we're going to use today to wood grain this cup. Okay, so let me grab some water real quick. Okay, sorry about that. So I also do have I always keep a rag for blotting my wood grain as I'm doing it. I have this down to a pretty quick art. I can do a cup in, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes total. If I'm messing around with the with like the holes and the knots and stuff, it might take me a little bit longer. So I do use a paint tray to mix when I'm doing this. And I have two kinds of different brushes I use when I wood grain. So these you can get on Amazon. These are actual wood grain brushes, and I want you to look at the tips of these. This is what makes these special. So they're thicker at the bottom, but then the top, they're very rigid, like, or not rigid, but they're like, they vary in size and width up here. So you have some thick bands, you have thin bands. These create beautiful wood grains quickly and easily, and you'll see that in just a minute. So for the most part, I use these brushes, and then these are some other two that I use. These are another ones that I use. Now I'll be honest, these are Dollar Tree. These are makeup brushes, like blending eye brushes or whatever from Dollar Tree. This one is I use a lot with alcohol inks and doing the baseball wood grain. I don't use it so much with the India inks, and then I do use this one. So I'll use this brush and this brush, and probably one of these brushes will be like what I use mostly today in this tutorial. But these are a game changer. I'm not kidding when it comes to wood grain. If you struggle to get the look you want, I'm going to show you how quick and easy you're going to get some really cool color variations on your tumbler or surface, whatever you're painting on. So we're going to start. We got our white cup. For this kind of color treatment, I use, these have really nice little droppers. So I will start with a full dropper of yellow in my little thing here. So I squeeze it all in there. This is very similar to alcohol ink in the fact that it does dry fairly quickly out in the air in the open. And then I will take my brown and I will do 2 drops of my brown. Now, you can adjust this mix however you want to get the color you want, and it won't always be exactly the same, but that's just kind of where I start at when I'm doing this. So full dropper yellow, 2 drops of brown is how I get this light color. I do have my cup on a football, and I want to be able to, for you guys to see everything. So I'm working hard down here to get in a position so you can. Okay. Do that way. Okay, cool. That's cool. It's awkward for me to hold that way, but we'll make it work. Okay, so I'm going to take this brush here, this one, and I'm just going to get my ink on there, and I'm going to dab it a little out on my tray. I'm going to do probably, now see, I can see right now that's probably a little too much yellow, so I'm going to add a little bit of brown to my mix here. Just going to add a little more brown. I'm going to get a couple of stripes on here. I probably do like a 3 to 4 inch span at a time. Okay, so I get that ink on there, and then I take one of my bigger brushes, one of my bigger fan brushes here, my little wood grain brushes, and I will start rubbing this in and out. I'm going to dab some off there because I'm going to take some of that color off. Now I will put the wood grain on the whole cup before I come in and do the knots. Okay, and then I'll pick back up where I left off over here. It's a little yellow for me. Add some more brown. Come back in with my brush. I hope you can see by mixing those 2 colors what you get. You see like the variation in the color of the wood, and that is true to wood. So if you look at a piece of wood, it's got dark spots and it's got light spots and it's got tons of tints and shades of color, and I think that is what makes wood grain finishes look the most genuine and real. And these brushes do a great job of helping make those easy, I mean, I'm barely stroking on this thing here. Okay. See how great that wood grain is? I'm not messing with it a lot. I mean, you don't have to. It really is pretty easy. So then I move on to the next side. Always make sure you overlap the line where you stopped. We're all the way back to the beginning again, so I'm just going to fill that in. Always do the bottoms last. Now once you get this base wood grain layer on, you can go back, and if you want to make it darker, you can make it darker. It's hard to make it lighter, but it can be done. This will, if you really hated it, you honestly could just go and wash this off. It will wash off. It dries pretty quick. See that wood grain that we did before? You can come back in and touch it up a little color if you want. With this brush, this is doing all the work for me. I'm not having to, you know, if you use a regular brush, you really have to work to get the wood grain. And this brush just does it for you. This will be dry to the touch in a matter of a few minutes, as long as I don't keep messing with it, which I do sometimes. Like down in here, I didn't get great coverage on the tip of the cup or edge of the cup. So we'll go back through and rub that in. Okay, so my cup is entirely wood grain that quickly. I mean, what was that, a few minutes? And I'm talking, so that's why it's taking so long. So now I have to come back in and I have to do some knots in the wood. So this is the brush I use for doing most of the knot work. My knots are random, sometimes they look like those kind. Sometimes, a lot of times they look more like, that kind. I try to make them look realistic. So I do, I normally start on the edge of, let's do an oval one that I want to do. So here's what I do. I got this is wet ink on here. I want to be able to see what I'm doing, guys. You can hold it up a little bit. Sorry, guys. I don't know if I can hold it that way and do it. Okay, let's just try this. So I'm going to draw my oval shape with my ink. I'm going to take some of my ink off my brush. Now I'm going to get a little bit of brown because I want a little color difference in here. You can still see. Trying to keep it turned towards you guys. My goal is to get a darker outline where the knot is. So I'm just moving the ink around, pushing it to the outside to get that dark outline there. And kind of dabbing my brush. And then I'll come back in with one of these smaller ones here. And add some texture. Starting from the outside in, kind of working its way into a little knot-like pattern. And I might put a little ink on there. Come in a little. Then I got a little knot there. Then I might, if I want to do a circle one, I kind of start in the middle. Because this is dry now, so you need a wet brush. Nope, not too far away. Right now I'm just getting a spot cleared to then start making a knot. And then I just start going around and around, getting that edge there. Grab a little brown. So this part is where you kind of play with your colors till you get them the way you want them. I'm just going to throw a little brown in here. I'm going to come in here with my little brush. I'm kind of swirling my brush around to try to get that, you know, knots of the circle green of the wood. I'm just swirling around in here to kind of get those in there. And there you go. It's as simple as that. Sometimes I might come in and, let's say, want to make this look a little more realistic. I might come in here and make some darker lines in my wood green. See, as you stroke down, along that top edge of your brush is that dark line, and that's the one you starts to look real. And then I might come back in with my brush and just soften those edges a little bit. But it's pretty quick and pretty easy. These brushes, what they do is save tons of time on your, you know, on this wood grain. I'm just doing this just to kind of show you some more. Like, you can come back in and layer more colors on and make more texture. But it gives really good variation. Super easy, super simple. Oh, I must have bumped it when I laid it down. Okay, and then I gotta do the bottom. I'll probably hold it further away here. So the bottoms I almost always turn into like a circular knot, almost always, because it's just easy that way to do. So I will just, I hope it's in focus. I don't know if it is. That might be better. I need longer arms, guys. So I'll paint around the whole bottom. Let's get some ink on there, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll just bring in my little kind of swirl the bottom, play with it a little bit. But these brushes just help make these great lines, and they don't take a lot of work. So what I do, I knot the bottom. I always have a couple knots or so on the sides, and then that's it. That's, you know, that's my wood grain. So it's pretty. Well, that's it, guys. It's a pretty simple, easy technique. These brushes make all the difference in the world. So like I mentioned before, there are links below to my supplies page on my website where I list out all the little stuff I love, my epoxy, my turners, my favorite brushes, tools, everything really I try to put on there for you guys, so you guys can easily get to some of the resources that I have. And if you stay to the end, so one of the other links below is to our Facebook group, and if you are not a member, you should be. So I am going to give away a set of these brushes this week. However, there is a catch. One, you have to like this video, you have to comment below, and then you have to jump over to my Facebook page and you have to share your favorite tumbler or favorite craft or whatever it is that you've created. So if you, anyone who shares in the group over this next week and who likes and comments on this video is going to be in the running for a free set of these brushes. So I'm going to give a free set away to one lucky group member. So hopefully you'll jump over there and join us. And I guess until next time, I will see you guys next Monday.